I'm sure other people have struggled with. I struggled with at one point. So like you said, when um, you met your now wife, but at the time she already had her son, which is also your son, of course. But
Mm.
how one, were you ready for that, right? At whatever age you was, and then two, how did you go about it? Was it one of those things? I know he was young when you first met him, but was it one of those things where it was awkward? Like, hey, as he got a little bit older, hey, can I tell him, don't do this, or I gotta talk to the mom? Like, how, because a lot of times I've talked to many fathers, it's a struggle. It's it's
Mm.
like that weird dance they don't know at times. So,
Right.
how was that for you?
It was a little bit challenging, she was very good like I mean her watching her mother was definitely something that drew me to her. So, I got a good sense of how this kid works,
Mm,
what he responds to, what it is that he kind of needs to hear in order to actually hear you and hear your voice type of thing. And she was very good at kind of jumping in. Like she would allow me to say what it is I needed to say if he was getting out of line or whatever. But then if he wasn't listening, she was very good at then coming in and saying, "Hey, Sean's talking. You gotta listen to what he's saying here."
mm,
She definitely helped me with that. Uh, it was something that I was definitely ready for because I knew, when her and I first met, I knew
yeah.
that she had a kid.
Okay.
So I knew the situation at hand. But as far as how to deal with him, she was a big help with that. But even with that being said, still trying to, like you said, walk that very fine line of how how much do I insert myself into this kid's life?
Hmm.
Where is that line of that I want to make sure that I don't cross because at that point it's like I'm not your father. His dad is very involved in his life. So it was hard to try to make sure that I wasn't trying to replace daddy for him, but let him know that I'm still a father figure.
Mm,
And you know, like I said, patience was the big thing for me, and learning how to go about that. But again, man, kudos to my wife. She was a big help with that, and definitely made it a lot easier for me than it probably could have been for anybody else.
yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, because like you said, it can get a little dicey at times, with everything.
For
That's why
sure.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I was just curious about how you can kind of go about it because too, right? You don't want it to be where, okay, you're I don't know, you're doing certain things with your daughter, but then your stepson feels left out, right? And it's like where it's like, okay, yeah, I know I'm not your biological father, but I am a
Hmm.
father figure here.
Right.
I just think about that because I remember growing up, those are things I used to feel, right? Where it's like, dang, like, okay, I understand you're my step parent, but like, why is it that this one, like, I thought we're all one family, right? And so that's
Right.
where it can get tricky, you know what I mean? And so, especially with boys will test you as well.
Boys are tough, man. They really are. He was a tricky one for sure. He was such a good kid though. He's always been sweet, but yeah, boys can be tough, man. And he's definitely tested the strength of our relationship too, and the strength of my patience too. He's definitely tried it over the years. But uh, he's 4 years older than my daughter, and so him and I were able to really get a good bond, before she came into the picture. And with her being, such a baby at the time, he enjoyed being a part of the attention that she was getting. And but it wasn't, yeah, when she started getting a little older, he definitely was like, hey, me too, like
Yeah,
don't forget about me type of thing. And so it was like, oh yeah, that's right. No, listen, man, just because I'm showing her this attention doesn't mean I don't still have some for you too. Our relationship is very different.
yeah,
So yeah, we've definitely had our few times of it being a challenge, but he's always kind of been accepting of the attention that was going to her, knowing that he has a very different type of attention that he receives from me. her being a girl probably helps with that aspect because he knows that I'm gonna treat her a little different because she's a girl.
Yeah.
I can imagine if it were another boy, what that would have been like. But luckily for our situation, it was a girl. So he understands that that she was my little sweetie, but
Yeah.
he's my main man. He's my main
Yeah.
guy, and so I always let him know that that he was my number one dude.